Hello everyone and welcome to Burnt Toast Productions. I'm your host, Burnt Toaster. Today I decided to venture out of my usual playstyle and try to beat Fable by only using magic. Which means no upgrades for any skill trees besides will, no using weapons or fists to deal damage, only wearing clothes or robes, and once a resurrection file has been used, I can't replace it, meaning it's a permadeath run. And that's basically it. Pretty simple on paper, but it does present its own challenges, namely being so weak that a stiff breeze can knock the hero over. I'll also have to navigate using magic since it's something I don't do very often with Fable besides a small handful of spells. Anyway, let's get into the video, shall we? True to my word, I got through the very start without employing violence, without a spell of some sort. I simply took the bribe from the unfaithful husband, told his wife, and then stood watch over some crates. I only need 3 gold to buy some chocolates, so it's not that hard to do. However, once I give Teresa the chocolates, the birthday bandits are here to steal all of our food. Oh, and burn our homes to the ground. Thankfully, Maze gets me to safety before a very premature birthday beheading. Anyway, at the guild, I undergo some training, mostly in the form of very basic melee training. Which you could say that the run is technically impossible from here because the dummy drops an experience orb. But if you're ever the optimist and willing to believe that it's still possible, I'm gonna have to crush your dreams here, champ. It's impossible to use only magic as I'll have to slay 10 beetles with my trusty stick. But at the same time, it's only the beginning. So some time passes and I'm stuck doing more melee combat training. This time though, it's a little sparring match with Whisper. Then it's off to the archery range, and finally the will training I've been waiting for. Sadly, I'm kinda stuck with lightning for now, and at its current level, it's not the most damaging spell out there. Plus it drains my pitiful mana bar pretty fast. But I do get to test it out on some bandits that found themselves in the guild woods. As long as I keep switching the target, it tends to work pretty fast. Though that mana drain is going to be a bit of an issue. Thankfully, it's not that problematic for sparrows. After some more time passes, it's time for the final test, and that means just spamming the different types of attacks on Maze. Then it's time for me to properly graduate. As a reward for graduating, I decided to get the Fireball spell, mostly because I wanted something with a bit more strength behind it for the aggressive aerial arthropods. When I make it to the picnic area, I've got to zap some pests. And honestly, the little ones, if you can really call them little, fall without issue. Lightning is at least making itself moderately useful, so I can't complain too much. As soon as the little guys are done with, the queen makes her appearance. Yeah, I think we're gonna need something other than lightning with a singular big target like her, which is exactly why I got Fireball in the first place. Time to test it out. Man, I'm glad I got it, but Fireball takes a decent bit of mana to cast. Plus, if the Wasp Queen attacks at the right moment, the Fireball will miss. But as I said, it deals good damage. All I have to do is stay far enough away and launch a few more at her. Oh, that's definitely one burnt bee. Since the bees have been casually exterminated, I return to the guild and level up a bit. And by that, I mean I increased my mana reserves and got a level of the Force Push spell. I figured since I'll be playing a squishy magic man, I'll need something to create a buffer between me and the enemy. Afterwards, I head off to Bowerstone and meet with Maze. He tells me Teresa is likely still alive and yells at me to replace my gear. Well, sorry to disappoint, but I'll be keeping my current attire for the moment. I do go ahead and sell some stuff and then go on a little stealing spree. Once I'm done in Bowerstone, it's time to get to Orchard Farm and put in some work. Before that though, I made 3 boasts to add on some extra challenge and more coin to spend. I'm going to need will potions to keep this build afloat. Instead of attacking the farm though, I'm going to be defending it, which doesn't pay as well, but I'm hoping to offset that. I make it there and deal with my first wave of bandits. It wasn't too hard as I do have the Fireball spell and lightning is easing some of the challenge by temporarily stunning them. Second wave was buttery smooth, and the third wave was a tiny bit more rough. That was due to a bandit getting a shot off and hitting me. After a successful defense, I have to fight Whisper again. The thing is, I have to use my weapon or my fists to flourish, otherwise I won't be able to move on. Good thing is, the first flourish doesn't deal any damage to her health, and that means I can just spam fireballs at her until she yields. Now that the quest is completed, I head back to the guild, level up my magic power, and get another level of the Fireball spell. As for the Trader Escort quest, I do my usual thing. I tell them to wait while I clear out the next area. And it's a good thing too, since I'm not dealing the best damage in the world here. It also doesn't help that I'm very squishy and not suited for tanking any hits. The most I can do is simply block with a weapon and use force push to get some breathing room. As usual, the only things in Darkwood are just some bandits and hobs along with that earth troll and singular Balverine. The earth troll fight was quite the tedious experience, and that's due to using fireball pretty much the entire fight. It was simply the most bang for my buck, as you could say, since I don't have the highest mana reserves or a more damaging spell I could use. Yeah, this took a good moment to get through, but eventually the troll has been baked to the highest degree, meaning I can finally head back to the traders and lead them through the area safely. After the quest is completed, I teleport to the guild to spend some more XP. I got another level of magic power, physical shield, lightning, and a level of the summon spell. I then went back through Darkwood to open up that demon door. The only reason is for the robes it holds inside. I can't help it. When it comes to runs like this, I want a fitting appearance. Dealing with the hobs wasn't horrendously difficult, it just took a bit of time and patience. Once the hobs have been evaporated, it's time to go in and collect my prize, a set of Dark Will user robes. And since I have gotten some more XP, I went to the guild and got a level of Inflame, another level of magic power, summon, and physical shield. After that, I go to Oakvale, talk to Maze, get some info regarding my sister, and do a little shopping. Once my little bit of buying and selling is over, I go back to the guild and accept the quest to find that CRS. I also boast a little while I'm at it. With my next quest ready to go, I get to Oakvale to start making way to Twinblade's camp. I can't stealth my way through the first section like usual, because I can't use a bow or a crossbow. Instead, I have to rely on my fireball, which isn't quite strong enough to fully roast a bandit in one hit. Since Plan A has a pretty big hole in it, time to move to Plan B. Plan B is quite literally take care of the three guys there, hide behind a rock until the fresh guards come out, and make a break for it once the coast is clear. With that done, it's time to deal with the abandoned road. The bandits there are a little tougher, but nothing I can't handle. I just have to hope my will potion stock holds up. Anyway, the goal is to gather the pieces of the bandit outfit. Sadly, it is absolutely required to get into the camp. I tried to brute force through it, but yeah, that didn't work very well. Good thing is, all I have to do is walk out of the area, walk back in, put on the outfit, and get inside. Once inside, I decide to deal with the bandits in a most magical manner. Because I need the XP. More XP will equal stronger spells and more mana at the end. With the bandits all sorts of fried or burnt to a crisp, I can head to the elite camp and do more of the same. Annihilate the bandits hanging around the area and wait until I can move on to the next zone. It's time to fight Twinblade himself. I have no idea how this is going to go since my magic is far from the strongest in the world. But Old Reliable will be the star of my damage output, and that means lobbing a bunch of fireballs at Twinblade's back. This took a lot longer than I had initially thought it would. With melee, I'm usually able to strike twice before he gets his swords unstuck. Fireball, sadly, isn't that quick. In fact, it has a bit of a delay before you can cast it again, making this fight roughly twice as long as usual. I'm only dealing about 90 damage per hit, and I have to wait for him to plunge his blades into the ground before I can hit him again. He has enough time to recover before I can cast, so... oh well, at least it's still more damage than the stick. It takes a good 7 minutes to whittle him down and force him to yield. Teresa makes her appearance, stopping me from turning his head into ground beef. My sister goes on about some prophetic vision she had and grants me some power. Now I have to decide what to do with everyone here. I chose to eliminate them. I've already used plenty of potions, so what's a few more for some XP gain? Now that the bandits have been taken care of, I can go back to the guild and spend all that XP I got. I settled on another level of Inflame, Magic Power, Force Push, Summon, Fireball, Lightning, and grabbed a level of Heal Life as well as Ghost Sword. To get a bit more XP and money, I accepted the Traitor Massacre quest. It's fairly easy going for the most part, except at the end where the guards become quite the healthful specimens. But I didn't die, so that's a bonus. After that quest, I get another level of physical shield, since it's quite literally my only line of defense against, well, anything. But I wanted some more experience, so I accepted the Hob Killing Contest quest and boasted. The quest itself was buttery smooth. Only had a couple of moments of panic, but I demolished Whisper in this little competition, taking out 29 hobs to her 1. But to be fair, I was playing very dirty. With all of those hobs now obliterated, I head back to the guild and get yet another level of Inflame. I then settle on doing the Trader Rescue quest, once again, mostly for the XP. The extra gold never hurts though. Before doing that quest, I decided to do a little grinding. I was wanting to get some stronger spells, so I took a little trip through Greatwood, getting enough XP for another level of Force Push. Anyway, on to the quest at hand. It's a pretty easy one if you know what you're doing. Just clear the areas out of a few bandits, get the traders from the elite camp first, grab the guy sitting in the normal camp, and stand near the exit. You'll get through it in no time. Since the quest is finished, I head back to the guild to get another level of Ghost Sword. Now I don't have as many distractions, I go and talk to Maze. He's got a favor to ask, which means it's time to find the archaeologist. But for whatever reason, the squirrel that resides in my brain refuses to stay focused, and I find myself grinding some more XP for a while. What did I decide to spend my XP on? Another level of Ghost Sword. I don't even know why. I think my decision-making ability is a bit defective. Regardless, I press on to Witchwood and fight my first rock troll. Trolls in general seem to be resistant to magic, but the rock troll kind of takes the cake. Good thing I can distract it with summons. Only thing they seem to be good for, actually. Past the troll, I work out the demon door's name and finally find the archaeologist, who's not so happy I was able to find him. Oh well, he'll be fine. Afterwards, I got a level of slow time to somewhat prepare myself for hunting down a white Balverine. If you wanted an example of how simply mediocre Ghost Sword is, as a spell, you don't have to search anymore. Watch as they struggle to hit a single bandit. Seriously, what was I thinking? Anyway, pushing onward, I make it to Knothole Glade, and sure enough, there are some Balverines to eradicate. For the first one, I let my summon take it out because having a spectral werewolf to help you out in battle sounds cool as hell. To do that, all I have to do is stand there and look pretty while blocking. Except my current summon is a higher tier than the Balverine. Oh well, all that's left to do is to immolate them or give them a bit of a shock. Also, another bad thing about Ghost Sword is how easy the swords are to target. I was trying to target the Balverine running to the gate, and for whatever reason the game said no. Once the attacks have subsided, it's time for me to get into Knothole Glade and speak with the chief, and get harassed by the white Balverine. Their last hunter had perished when he killed the previous white Balverine, leaving his wife as the only one who really knows what its weakness is, which is silver. Well, thanks for the augment, lady, but I'm going to turn what used to be your husband into a well-done steak. With that all said, it's time to hunt it down. Which isn't hard since it hangs around Witchwood Lake. Good thing I can lob a decent fireball now, though my summons aren't doing as well as I thought they would with a singular target. It's also a good thing I grabbed Inflame because I can use it when the white Balverine calls for some friends. 2 casts of Inflame at its current level destroys the little guys. Not long after the final wave of the normal Balverines, I threw a couple of fireballs at the white one and finally put it down. Now I can return to the chief and complete the quest. After that, I bought the last couple of pieces of the bright plate mail set. I'm only doing this to open the demon door at the abandoned road. I'm not going to get any benefits from the armor as I'm not heading into combat while it's equipped. After playing dress up for a little bit, I unlock the demon door and can claim my prize of the Dull Master's Mace. The only reason I grabbed it is for the mana augment, which will allow my mana to recharge faster, and also allow it to recharge while I have physical shield active. To test the recharge rate and to get more XP, I went through Greatwood to grind a little bit. It's not bad, but it doesn't make much of a difference in combat unless I can bide my time. Still, it's at least a little helpful in very tight spots. Once I'm done clearing Greatwood for what feels like the umpteenth time, I level up a little bit. I get another level of magic power and slow time. Something tells me I'm going to need it for the arena. Honestly, the arena wasn't that difficult. Of course, having access to physical shield and inflame helps quite a bit, but it only took me roughly half an hour to get through it, the more annoying enemies being Balverines, the undead, and both sets of trolls, although the earth trolls were far from unmanageable. Then Arachnox popped on by, and I wasn't dealing terrific damage to the giant scorpion. I'm wondering if most of the larger creatures are simply resistant to magic. Regardless, it takes a bit to end the arachnid for good, and then it's time for the actual final round, which is against Whisper. Well, this is going to be pretty easy. Whisper isn't really resistant to an explosive fireball or force push knocking her over. The only time Whisper is moderately annoying is when you're primarily using melee. Not sure about bows, as I've never really played using a bow or crossbow that much. Anyway, after the fight, Lady Grey tells me I can enter Bowerstone North, and Thunder is understandably unhappy. Teresa also sent someone to tell me to meet her over at the Grey House. But before I do any of that, I've got some XP to spend. I got magic power to max, fireball to max, a couple levels of infernal wrath, and another level of heal life. Since I have to go meet my sister at the Grey House to get the next quest started, I get on over there and talk to her. She says our mother is in Bargate, and that means I have to go bust her out. But I have to find the archaeologist first, who knows of an ancient passage I could use and is being held by Jack's minions. First, I wanted to sell some stuff and restock my will potions. I'm probably going to need it for rescuing the archaeologist as well as breaking into Bargate. Once I'm done buying potions, I can get to work freeing the only guy who knows how to open the way to Bargate Prison, and I'm not sure what I was expecting when fighting Jack's minions. They're moderately tough, but also nothing I can't really handle. Even if they do get close, I have Force Push ready to use to create some space. The only ones that give me a bit of trouble are the Dreadwings, mostly because they like to have a range advantage. But I also have a ranged spell, so they're not too difficult to deal with. Anyway, pressing on, I have a fight with a rock troll. I saw this as the perfect opportunity to test out the strength of a maxed out fireball. And you know what? I'm pretty happy with it. It deals some nice damage, although that mana drain is a bit egregious. Yikes. After the troll and minions are done with, I go to the next area, and that's the section with a timer. However, after destroying all those minions and that troll, I'm feeling pretty confident. My plan was to run down to the dock and stick close to the archaeologist. The way I did that was by using Force Push to get them out of my way. Then I started using Inflame like my life depended on it. Also brought some friends from the Void for maximum chaos. For probably the first time during this run, I actually felt a bit like a powerful wizard. Regardless, it doesn't take too long to clear out the minions and free the archaeologist. He tells me the information I need to know and then leaves. Since the quest is completed and I have a nice chunk of XP, I get over to the guild and level some things up. Getting Inflamed to max level, Slow Time to level 3, and Heal Life to level 3. I may need it when getting my mother out of prison, but I likely won't. Still, better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. With everything basically done, it's time to go traipsing through a graveyard. It's pretty easy going, as all I need to do is find Nostro, get his armor, sword, and shield, and return them to him. Once I have gathered all of his things, the path is now open. Of course, before I can really get into Bargate, I have to deal with the Circle of the Dead. Yeah, having access to Inflame is pretty handy. Only bad thing is the fact that the undead will get knocked down by it unless it ends their undeath in a single cast. With the circle now pleased, the way to Bargate is open. Before heading off to prison, I leveled up a bit. The only thing I could really afford was getting lightning to max level. Now it's time to head to Bargate Prison. Getting into Bargate isn't that bad. The only thing really holding me up is the undead, and they can't withstand my magic enough to cause any complications. When I finally get into the prison, the guards don't fare much better than the undead. Sure, they're tougher and have access to ranged weaponry, but that doesn't mean much since I'm built for at least a little range. Lightning being maxed out is actually pretty decent. Eventually, I find my mother in a cell and get her out, then make my exit. Except I don't really get to, as Jack caught the both of us, which means it's time to experience the races. They're far from difficult, though you automatically fail to get the key to the cells the first time around. After winning the second race, though, you get the key and can leave this place once you get all of your stuff back. Just like getting in here, the guards aren't much of an issue. The only possible challenge is the Kraken, and let's just say the giant sea creature doesn't do so well against fire. Too bad I don't have any batter. Oh well. Anyway, the sea monster is done for, and that means I can leave this hole forever. Of course, my mother unlocks a bit more of my power, which means it's time to go level up. All I do is get Infernal Wrath to max level. When I'm done leveling up, I take a bit of time to get my appearance in order and take the scenic route to Darkwood. And it's just so I can get some extra XP to level a few more spells. Once I get to the Ancient Culliscate, it's pretty dang smooth. I only used Inflame and it was deleting the undead like they were nothing. 2 casts for the really big boys and 1 for everyone else. With that done, I can get into Hook Coast and find that abbey. I do, and I have to return back to the guild to learn what Mother found out as I was investigating. After I return, I go ahead and grab the last level of Force Push. My mother then gets taken again, meaning I have to grab the book she yelled about and take it to the guildmaster once I'm ready to continue. I decided to make a little detour to Barrowstone. The reason being, if you deliver so many books of a certain type to Mr. Gout, you'll get access to 1 of 2 wizard hats. Well, I primarily kept the negative books on my person because I simply like the look of the Dark Will User set. So after delivering the books and getting my appearance in order, I'm good to go. At the order of the guildmaster, I head to Hook Coast. Thankfully, the only enemies I'll have to deal with are screamers. Well, for now. They're pretty weak, so I'm not too worried about fighting them. The big enemy here is Maze, since he's a traitor. We'll have a magical battle of epic proportions. Honestly, it consisted of using Force Push when his shield was done, just so I could charge up a fireball and burn his health away. His scariest attack is Inflame, and that's simply because I don't know how to completely avoid it. Also doesn't help that it'll lower my mana to dangerous levels. My best bet is to keep my distance. It's simply healthier than rushing in. Speaking of rushing in, the lighthouse section was not enjoyable. Maze was basically stuck to my hip and liked to use Inflame since I was so close. Joke's on him though, I have mastered Inflame and decided to give him a taste of his own medicine. I then threw a fireball after he teleported outside and began to spam Force Push until he was done for. With Maze dealt with, I can go back to the guild and start to work on stopping Jack. Or at least try to. But first I settled on getting Battle Charge. It may not be the most useful, but it does allow me to close the distance between an enemy and myself, damaging them if I make physical contact with them. It still won't see much use since Fireball, Force Push, Physical Shield, and Inflame are pretty much my go-to spells for most encounters. Battle Charge may not be the traditional mage type of spell, but hey, I don't have to use a weapon in order for it to be used, so I'm fine with it. Now I can go and try to put an end to Jack's plans. All I have to say is I'm pretty happy that I have Force Push since it helps clear the way forward and keeps me from getting into too many fights. So I try to catch up with Jack. Speaking of Jack, am I the only one who kind of misses his old voice? Don't get me wrong, his voice in Anniversary works just fine, but it feels a little flat, I guess. Maybe I played the original Xbox version way too much as a kid. Anyways, I never get to catch up to him, which means I have to simply follow his path of destruction all the way to the guild, which is now on fire. Well, there's no time like the present to go and put an end to him. In the Chamber of Fate, he finally stops running and immediately deletes my mother's life operating software. On to the fight. I have to fight his minions before I can open him up to damage. They don't last for too long thanks to my fireballs. Jack is a bit of a handful if you're not careful, just one of his attacks can take most of my mana. It makes charging up a fireball a bit of a challenge, but nothing I can't handle. Since Inflame has some iframes attached to it, I started getting close and spamming it like a madman, which means I have to deal with his second phase. Of course, his second phase isn't all that tough to deal with. I just have to find the perfect rock to hide behind and pop out to throw some holy hellfire his way. He's a mostly stationary target. I was having some problems with him moving around just a little bit, throwing off my ability to hit him with magical fire. Despite those setbacks, I finally put an end to his madness. Now I have a choice, take the sword or throw it out. I decided to throw it out as I have little use for it. After visiting my mother's grave and going for a new beard style, I get called back to the guild. Scythe needs some assistance, but in order to provide said assistance, I have to go and complete the puzzles to grab the fire heart. Now this is not my proudest moment, I couldn't get the last puzzle done for the life of me. I have no idea why, I was simply out of it when I recorded it and lost all of my resurrection files trying to get through. Which means the next time I fall in combat, that's it, the run will be finished. Yeah, no pressure whatsoever. It's not like there's any particular event that will chip the very small amount of self-confidence I have or anything. Regardless, I've got the gem in my hands after struggling with a skill issue. Time to take it to Hook Coast and defend it. Defending it isn't too bad, the summoners still go down, just with a bit more fight this time around than usual. For the first one, I used a little mix of spells, mostly relying on Fireball to deal damage. For the other two, I just pretty much used Inflame. Because they're surrounded by some minions, it was simply the best time to use an AoE spell and I wanted to capitalize on that. Before you know it, I have defeated the summoners and can call a ship from the depths of the ocean to take me to the northern wastes. My first ice troll fight was as smooth as butter. Well, mostly. Fireball worked wonders to melt the sentient ice cube. After fighting some more minions, I finally make it to Snowspire Village and meet with Scythe, who tells me I need to find the Glyphs of Inquiry to get the Oracle to wake up and answer our questions about Jack's whereabouts. After I stop by Barrowstone to mess with the hero's hair, I get over to the Necropolis to get those glyphs we need. It's nothing too exciting since I know where to look and the enemies are mostly those that I've already faced. The last glyph is the only one with any bit of excitement, simply because I have to deal with some summoners and minions. But as I said, it's nothing that crazy. I've dealt with them more than enough times. After they're all defeated, I can grab that glyph and return to Scythe. Before I do though, I stop by the guild to do some leveling up. I had a nice amount of XP to use, so I decided to upgrade Slow Time and Battle Charge to max level. I then got as many levels as I could of some other spells, even though I either can't or will not use them. I'm pretty comfortable with the spells I have available to use, so I'm basically just spending XP for the sake of spending it. With that done, I head back to Snowspire, and we find out that Jack is behind the Bronze Gate. So that means I'll have to fill the Archon Shrine with 3 souls. Briar points me to Thunder to get some idea of where I might find the soul of a King of the Arena. He says I should look in the arena itself, and for one, I decide to do just that. All I have to do is simply fight a few waves of enemies, which isn't that bad all things considered. With the soul acquired, I can return to the shrine and get the next one. I decided to go ahead and grab my mother's soul. It should be easier to deal with than Briar's. Since Screamers are more of a nuisance than anything, I just use a combination of Slow Time and Infernal Wrath. It was a cakewalk, and now I have the second soul required. Returning back to the shrine, Briar says the last one is the oldest soul, so I settle on taking Nostros. It'll be a lot easier than dealing with a bunch of guards. Since I need to destroy the undead that defend Nostro, I use AoE spells such as Infernal Wrath and Inflame. It doesn't take too long before I defeat him and can claim his soul. With all the souls collected, I can finally face Jack for the final time. But before I do, I prepare myself, mostly by purchasing all the will potions I can. With all the preparations I could make completed, I go and face Jack in his new form. I figured my best bet would be to attack from range, since it's a bit too risky to be close to him. However, since I'm not used to his ranged moveset, he deleted my mana and health in one slam attack, promptly killing me and ending the run right there. Well, that just happened. I can't say I'm necessarily mad, just a bit defeated and suffering from a slightly bruised ego. But hey, you can't win them all. Sometimes circumstances will simply not be in your favor. It does suck having failed the run, but what can you do besides try to grow from your failures? It was a different experience than what I'm used to, so I'm glad to have attempted this run. Regardless, if you made it this far, thank you. Since you're here, consider liking the video, sharing it to whoever else may enjoy it, and subscribing, especially if you want to see more Fable runs in the future. This has been Burnt Toaster from Burnt Toaster Productions, and I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.